Hello, my math friends. All right, as we are moving into our unit on fractions, we're going to start looking at a very important skill, decomposing fractions, and the next step up, which is going to be working with mixed numbers. So we're going to start it off very straightforward, just looking at the fraction 3/4. Now, we have different ways that we could model this as a model, on a number line, and then decomposing is going to be another strategy of representing this fraction. So if we look here, I know that I could represent this on a fraction bar. I have my 4 equal pieces, each representing 1/4. And I know in order to represent the 3/4, I would have 3 out of my 4 shaded in. Now, when we think about decomposing fractions, we're also thinking about how can I break this down? How can I create smaller pieces to work with? And one way that we can do that is by breaking it down into what's called the unit fraction. And the unit fraction is what we just represented on that model. So a unit fraction is going to be one of our pieces. So we would represent this in an addition equation. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. There's our 3 pieces. And we know with adding fractions, we're only adding the numerators and denominators stays the same. Okay, this is what we would call, again, our unit fractions. Unit meaning 1. Now, there are other ways that you will see fractions being broken down or decomposed. Another way that we could write this is 2/4 plus 1/4, and that's going to give us 3/4. Okay, so this is another way to decompose 3/4. All right, so very straightforward as far as breaking down that number. So let's go ahead and look now at our mixed numbers. So mixed numbers we can do a little bit more with as far as decomposing. So here we have 2 and 1/3, where 2 is our whole number, 1 is our numerator, 3 is our denominator. So essentially, if we were to make a model of this, I would have, and I'm going to do circle models for this one. I would have 2 wholes broken into thirds, and then I would have 1 piece of that third one. So essentially, these 2 would be completely shaded in. These are whole fractions. And then we would have just 1/3 of this one shaded in to represent our 2 and 1/3. Now, with decomposing mixed numbers, there are going to be multiple ways that we can decompose these. Now, I literally could break it down into unit fractions and represent each circle. That represents my first circle. That represents my second circle, and then I have the 1/3 in my third circle. Now, if I look here, this equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 thirds. This improper fraction is equivalent to 2 and 1/3. This is how we write it as the mixed number. this is how we write it as an improper or a top-heavy fraction. Okay? And again, when you break it down completely like this by the unit fraction, you're able to see those groupings. So we can see, hey, here's 3/3. That's 1 whole. Here's another 3/3. That's our second whole number. And then here's our 1/3 all by itself. Okay? And again, just like with our 3/4 in the first example, you can group these differently. You're just going to make sure that your equation ends up being equal to 7/3. So if we wanted to do, I could write this as 4/3 plus 3/3. That equals 7/3. I could write it as 5/3 plus 2/3. That equals 7/3. I could write it as 6/3 plus 1/3 equals 7/3. And the list could go on and on. Okay? It's actually kind of fun to see how many different combinations you can come up with as far as decomposing. But I hope that kind of helps you see how you can break down your numbers using both models and unit fractions. Thank you.